Uh, Welcome back to this organic spectroscopy tutorial. Today I am going to talk to you about mass spectrometry. Though I try to teach you this course through Zoom app, but as you know, it was not very effective, and most of you have requested me to upload the YouTube video on mass spectrometry. I did a lot of hard work to make this presentation for you, and I hope you will enjoy it. As you know, the lockdown has been extended up to May 3rd, 2020. So we don't know as of yet what is going to happen after May 2020 also. But stay motivated, stay at home. That is the best remedy to deal with this COVID-19, and I wish you all a good luck. I am there to help you, each one of you. Anytime when you feel, you can contact me. And as you know, I utilize my time in making these YouTube videos, and that helped me to reach out large number of students across, and the first two videos has received more than 2500 views now, and this is the way how we can utilize our time during this testing times. With this, let me talk to you about mass spectrometry, what it is. uh, so as you know, mass spectrometry is the destructive method to use for the measurement of the molecular weight of the compound. It differs from other spectroscopic technique which you have studied so far. It does not require electromagnetic radiations, and there is no absorption and emission also. So it is not spectroscopy in true sense, rather it is called mass spectrometry. So remember that. The mass spectrometer bombards a neutral volatile compound with 70 electron volt energy that causes to eject one electron from the compound. So the initial step in mass spectrometry is the ejection of one electron from the molecule, and that will lead you the formation of a molecule which has radical cation. So what we call it as a molecular ion peak, we represent it as M plus dot radical cation. Once radical cation is generated, it undergoes for fragmentation. Each fragment is characterized by mass to charge ratio, that is m by z. Z is a charge here, and analysis of such fragments provides information on structure of the molecule. And I have made a general representation. Let us suppose you have a compound that we call M. So you bombard it with the 70 electron volt energy that leads to the formation of M radical cation. And once the radical cation is formed, it undergoes for fragmentation. You get A plus and B as a radical. So A plus is called a daughter ion peak. Today actually I will not spend too much time on theory of the mass spectrometry. I will just brush upon quickly go upon the general terminology used in the mass spectrometry, but I will spend more time on the fragmentation pattern in each class of compounds. Before doing so, let me tell you how important this spectrometry technique is. It has been used largely now by the chemists across the globe for the determination of the molecular weight of the compound and the structure of the molecule. This technique has attracted 5 Nobel Prizes till date. First being from Sir J.J. Thomson in physics in 1906, followed by F.W. Austin for chemistry in 1922. Paul got Nobel Prize in 1989 for physics, and in 2002 J.B. Fenn and K. Tanaka got Nobel Prize in chemistry for the development of mass spectrometry techniques. The terminology what is used in mass spectrometry, as I said, one is the molecular ion peak, that is the molecular weight of the compound. Another point what we talk is the base peak. Base peak is the most abundant peak in the mass spectrum, which has 100% intensity. That is called a base peak. And another beautiful rule is the nitrogen rule. I have shared the write up about the nitrogen to you. Nitrogen rule says odd nitrogen containing neutral organic molecules, remember that this is important, will always have odd molecular weight. Okay, so like NO2 and NO both have odd nitrogen, but they don't have odd molecular weight. Both of these have even molecular weight. Why this so? Because both are charged, so the compound must be neutral. Another use of mass spectrometry is the detection of isotopes. So it is extensively used for the detection of the isotopes. Presence of M+2 peaks confirms the presence of Cl. If the intensity ratio of M+2 peaks 32.5%, Br if it is 98%, M+2 peak, and sulfur 4.4%. Presence of iodine is confirmed by the huge difference between molecular ion peak and daughter ion peak, that is mass 127. And in case of the fragmentation, we call two types of fragmentation. One is a logical fragmentation, another is a illogical fragmentation. In case of the logical fragmentation, in most of the cases the molecular ion peak is distinctly observed in the mass spectrum, and fragmentation leads to the loss of a fragment of a defined m by z value. It means once you detect your molecular ion peak in the mass spectrum, it goes for the fragmentation. So the fragmentation goes in a logical manner. Maybe there is a peak m minus 15, that is a loss of CS3, or a peak m minus 18, that is a loss of water, or m minus 31, that is a loss of O methyl group, are few of the examples of the logical fragments. Another problem in the mass spectrometry, you see so many kind of peaks. Each of the peaks you will not be able to the mechanism of the formation of each kind of peaks. It may not be possible because the fragmentation takes place in the vapor phase. But in the illogical fragmentation, some cases you don't see the molecular ion peak. What does it mean? Let us suppose if you take a tertiary alcohols. In tertiary alcohols, you won't be able to see the molecular ion peak, and the peak what you see actually is 3 to 14 mass unit away from the molecular weight of the compound, and that suggests that you might have missed the molecular ion peak in the molecule. So what does it mean? It means once the radical cation is generated, depending on the stability of that radical cation, before reaching to the detector in the mass spectrometer, it may undergo for fragmentation. So the fragment which goes to the detector in those cases is not the intact molecule, but it is the daughter ion peak. So the loss of fragments of mass unit 1 to 3 can result from the loss of up to 3 hydrogen atoms. In such cases, from 14 to 18 m by z value loss can be explained from the loss of CS3 or hydroxide ion or a water molecule. The loss of fragment from 19 to 25 m by z value also unlikely, but except in case of fluorinated compounds which produces m minus 90 loss of fluorine or m minus 20 loss of HF. So in these class of compounds, other techniques should be utilized like chemical ionization, FAB, fast atom bombardment technique, MALDI or electro spray technique should be explored. Today I am not going to talk about all these 3 or 4 different kind of techniques. Rather, I will concentrate myself today on the fragmentation by EI technique, electron ionization technique. With this, let me go to the fragmentation of different class of organic compounds. To begin with, let me talk about the fragmentation of alkanes. In this particular case, I have taken the example of N-octane. So if you see here, the N-octane has the molecular weight 140. So this is a radical cation. So once this radical cation is formed, it undergoes for fragmentation. So fragmentation, if you see the first fragment here, right here, this is the removal of methyl radical. So what happens? You get this as a positive. Then removal of the ethyl radical, this is the carbocation. Removal of the propyl radical, this is the carbocation. Removal of butyl radical, this is the carbocation, and so on and so forth. At the end you get this carbocation, and the last one is this. So if you see, this is the most intense peak, this is the 100% intensity, this is what we call a base peak, and this is what we call a molecular ion peak. All other those peaks are called a daughter ion peak. And if you look at it, the intensity of each of the peak is different. Okay, so if you look at all these carbocation and arrange these carbocation in order of their stability, this is the most stable carbocation out of the carbocation what you have here. So this is the most intense peak. One thing. Another one is, look at this peak here, it is 114. All these daughter ion peaks, one thing is very peculiar. What is that peculiarity? The daughter ion peak is odd. Okay, even molecular ion peak, all daughter ion peaks are odd. Number one. Number two, the difference between each of these daughter ion peaks is -14, that is CH2. So this is the characteristic feature of N-alkanes, wherein the daughter ion peak will have a difference of 14 units. Number one. Number two, or even molecular weight compound will always have daughter ion peak or M/Z value until unless there is some kind of rearrangement. I will come to that bit later. So these are the carbocations. As I said, you can arrange those based on their stability. You can see the intensity of those peaks. The next one is 2,2-dimethyl trimethyl 2,2,4 trimethyl pentane, that is isooctane. If you look at isooctane here, so this is 140. Now if you this is 114 was an octane also, but in this case this is one of the fragment, right? You generate the radical cation here, and this portion goes as a cation. Okay, so you get a cation. This is a tertiary cation, and this is your okay, sorry, this is the wrong drawing. Actually this should have been a radical here, this is not CH2. Okay, please correct that. So you have cation here, and another possibility is getting this as a cation. So which of the cation will be more stable? This one. Hence this is a base peak. Number two, now you may be a little bit surprised. I talked to you about M+1 peak. So there is no M+1 peak, very little peak here, very little, because the intensity of M+ peak is too small. So M+1 peak is contributed due to the presence of 13 carbon isotope, so it will not be detected over here. And the left hand side peaks of this big peak is due to the loss of successive hydrogen atoms. And then if you look at 2-methyl hexane, this is the 2-methyl hexane, again you have M/Z value at 100. Now you don't see any M+ peak here because this is very weak. Then removal of methyl radical leads to the formation of this carbocation here. Similarly, the propyl gives you this carbocation, and this radical gives you the formation of this cation. So out of these three, this is the most stable carbocation. As a result, this is your base peak. Next one is 3-methyl hexane. This is 3-methyl hexane. Okay, so the fragmentation can be one, leaving this methyl as a radical, you get this carbocation, or leaving this ethyl as a radical, this is the carbocation. So this is the portion that is broken. Okay, so you get a positive charge over here. Another possibility is this portion is cut down from here, you get this carbocation, and one portion is this carbon. So out of all these carbocation, this carbocation and this carbocation are stable, but this is the base peak, not this one. So rule says the smaller fragment are more stable. So how you differentiate these two hexanes, methyl hexane, 2-methyl hexane and 3-methyl hexane by mass spectrometry? 2-methyl hexane has a base peak at m by z value 43, while 3-methyl hexane has a base peak at 57. This is how you differentiate these two compounds. Next one is tetrafluoroethane. So if you look at it, it can undergo for fragmentation by the removal of F as a radical or hydrogen as a radical, or it can form this carbocation or this carbocation. So if you look at all these 4 carbocations, this carbocation is much more stable in comparison to this carbocation. So this is the base peak in this particular case. In case of cycloalkanes, in the cycloalkanes, the molecular ion peak is very intense, not like in N-alkanes. As I talked to you, in N-alkanes you saw that the molecular ion peak was very weak, but in case of cycloalkanes, the molecular ion peak is very strong, but it undergoes kind of a rearrangement actually. So what happens? You have a radical cation here. You can think it like this: one of the bond is made of 1 electron only, because what happened? You ejected 1 electron from this molecule, and that gave you radical cation. So it means out of these bonds, one bond is 1 electron bond. So if this is so, the 1 electron, let us suppose, is over here. This 1 electron moves here, 1 electron from here moves to this side, and 1 electron goes to this side. So what you eliminate? You eliminate alkene here. Okay, and what you get? A positive charge here and a radical here. What is that? That is a m by z value 42. And if you calculate the molecular weight of this compound, this is also even. Remember what I said when I taught to you about N-alkanes? Even molecular weight or daughter ion peaks. In this case, it is not even molecular weight, even daughter ion peak. If this is the case, it means it has not gone through a normal kind of fragmentation. If there is a rearrangement, the rule what I said, even molecular weight or daughter ion peak will not follow. In this particular case, what happens? The daughter ion peak will have radical cation character. Similarly, this methyl cyclopentane gives you this kind of base peak. In case of the norbornene, you can write the norbornene in this fashion: one of the bond is 1 electron. Let us suppose this is 1 electron bond. This 1 electron moves to this side. From this one bond, 1 electron moves here. So what happens? You eliminate alkene, and you have a radical here, and you have a cation here. Okay, and now you remove H radical. What do you get? A cation. So you will have 2 peaks. One is 68, another 67. Now let's move to alkenes. In case of alkenes, the fragmentation goes in the same way as in case of N-alkanes. All the daughter ion peaks will be of odd m by z value, and the molecular weight of the alkene, as you know, will be even. Okay, and if you look at, this is what the logical fragmentation. So you lose a methyl radical, get this kind of carbocation, or you lose a ethyl radical and you get a allylic carbocation, or you can get this kind of carbocation also. And in case of a alkene, allylic carbocation are much more stable, so hence this is a base peak. But 2-hexene shows another prominent peak at m by z value 56, which is not present in 3-hexene. Let me explain this, why this so. So if you write this 2-alkene in this way, so what happens? You have a alpha carbon, you have a beta, you have a gamma. If there is a gamma hydrogen in a compound which has double bond, triple bond, or heteroatoms, it undergoes for McLafferty rearrangement. What happens in this case? So the initial process of ejection of electron or molecular ion peak formation is the electron get ejected from heteroatoms, or if you have a double bond or triple bond, and then sigma bond. Okay, so you have a double bond here. So this double bond, one of the electron get ejected. So what is there now? You have a radical and cation. So this hydrogen moves to, one electron moves here and one electron moves here. So what you get? You get a radical, you get a cation. This radical comes to this side, one electron of this bond moves here, another moves here. So what you eliminate? You eliminate alkene, neutral molecule. You get this radical cation. M by Z value 56. What is that? Even dot right. That is possible only if you have these kind of rearrangements. In case of cyclic alkenes, like in case of limonene, apart from the logical fragments, there is a fragment at m by z value 68, and that is because of retro de-Leiter fragmentation. So if you look at this one, if you bombard with the 70 eV electron, this is what you get, radical cation. It undergoes for retro de-Leiter rearrangement. What happens? This radical goes over here, and one of the electron of this bond comes here. So you get a double bond over here, and one other electron comes here. So you have a double bond here, you have a radical. Now this radical comes to this bond, one electron from this comes here, another electron goes here. So what you eliminate? You eliminate a double bond and methyl group, this one, and rest what you get, the molecule with m by z value 68. So but the presence of cyclohexene does not necessarily means it guarantees the retro de-Leiter reaction. Another example is alpha enone. So these are the normal kind of fragmentation. Methyl, this is acyl radical, this one, you get this molecule, or this as a radical and this as a positive charge. So you will have a peak at 43 also. And another one is formation of the oxonium ion, which is a very common fragmentation in case of carbonyl compounds. So you get at 177 m by z value. But this molecule also undergoes for retro de-Leiter rearrangement like this. Okay, and that eliminates this portion, it get eliminated as an alkene, and you get a double bond over here and you get this fragment. So this is 136. From here the methyl, because it is a radical cation, so methyl gets eliminated as a radical and you get the oxonium ion. So this is very stable fragment. So you get peak at 136 and 121. This is how you can explain it. In case of the beta enone, where you have, this is the structure. So what happens here? You can get a peak at 177 by the removal of this methyl or this methyl, oxonium ion, and this is very stable. So it does not undergo for retro de-Lelders rearrangement in this case. To compare the N-alkanes with aliphatic amines, same case for aromatic amines also, what I said to you, that even molecular weight will have odd daughter ion peaks. Okay, now odd molecular weight compound will have daughter ion peaks at even m by z value. What's that? This is the compound what you have here. Its molecular weight is 101. What is that? This is 1 nitrogen. So if you see 1 nitrogen any compound, close your eyes, write molecular weight as odd. Okay, so this is at 101, and 1 hydrogen get eliminated as a radical, you get a peak at 100. But if you look at all these daughter ion peaks, you have 86, 72 and 44 and 58, all are even molecular weight. So odd molecular weight compound during fragmentation, logical fragmentation, normal kind of fragmentation, will give you a daughter ion peak with even m by z value. So I have shown here how it goes. So this is the compound. So from here, if one hydrogen is get eliminated as a radical, you get a CH2 here, positive charge on a nitrogen, you have a MiZ value. Now methyl get as a radical, okay, from this portion. So you get this as a positive charge 86. It can go from here also. Okay. Another one is the ethyl as a radical. So you get iminium ion 72. This is the most stabilized. Okay. Now this iminium ion rearrangement can take place from here. One of the hydrogen comes here, and this bond goes here. So what do you eliminate? Alkene. What do you get? This one, m by 44. So this is the kind of fragmentation in case of amines. As I said, the most important use of mass spectrometry is the detection of isotopes. I have given you example here of chlorobenzene and bromobenzene to begin with. So if you take the chlorobenzene example, this is the m plus peak, this is m plus 2 peak. So if you compare the intensity of these two peak, it is 100%, it is 33%, like that. So if you have a 2 chloro now, you have m plus 2, you have m plus 4. How you calculate that? 76 is the weight of benzene ring, 35, that will give you m plus p. M plus 2 peak you will get if one of the Cl is 37, m plus 2. M plus 4 you will get if both of the Cl are 37. So these are. So if you have a trichlorobenzene, now you can have m plus p, m plus 2p, m plus 4, m plus 6, very weak. Similarly, if you have a bromo, because the natural abundance of Br 79 and 81 is 1:1, so this is the peak, m plus peak and m plus 2 peak. If you have 2 Br here, m plus 2, m plus p, m plus 2, m plus 4, and if you have 3 Br, m plus 2, m plus 4, m plus 6. So this ratio is given in the textbook of most of these textbooks. You can memorize it, but the calculation is not given in any of the textbook. I tried to come up with the kind of a calculation by which you can see what kind of how this ratio comes. So let me little bit explain this. So relative abundance of Cl37 is 32.6%. and Br81 is 96.7%. This is the case when Cl35 is 100% and Br79 is 100%. Okay. For one Cl containing compound, relative size of m plus peak will be the probability of 35 Cl. What will be the probability? Cl35 is 100% divided by 100 plus 32. This is the probability. Relative size of m plus 2p, because it contains one Cl, m plus 2 30 because of 37, so 32 divided by 100, 32 this. So it is, the ratio is almost same. For 1 BR, probability of BR 79, 100 divided by 100 and 79 97 yeah, oh sorry, this should have been 97 actually. Okay, this is 97, please correct that. Okay, this is 32 because of this, and this should have been 97 here. Okay, so this is the ratio. Similarly, m plus 2p ratio you can calculate. Now take the example of a compound that contains Br and Cl both. So number 1, the relative size of m plus peak will be the probability of 79 Br. So m plus peak will come when you have a 79 Br and 35 Cl. Okay, this one. So these values we already calculated, so this is the value what it comes. Then relative size of m plus 2 peak. M plus 2 peak will come by two ways: Br 79 37 Cl or Br 81 35 Cl. So we have these values we already calculated in the previous slide. Use those, and this is what it comes. So total A plus B, this is A, this is B, this much. So m plus 2 peaks intensity will be this divided by this 129%. Similarly, you can calculate for m plus 4 and use this method to calculate for other combination also. Now let's move to the fragmentation of aromatic compound hydrocarbons. I have taken example of toluene to begin with. So once the radical cation is generated, one way is to remove H as a radical. You get a benzyl cation, m by Z value 91, and this undergoes for rearrangement. You get a tropylium cation, again 91, and from tropylium cation acetylene is removed as a neutral molecule. You get cyclopentadiene kind of deuteriene peak, m by Z value 65. Another way is remove CH3 as a radical. You can get the phenyl cation. So it means if I have a benzene, this is the cation what you get. From benzene radical cation, hydrogen will be removed as radical. From here acetylene goes off, you get this protonated butadiene and m by Z value 51. Now the question arises whether this 91 peak is because of benzyl cation or because of tropylium cation. This, to confirm this, you can take the example of paraxylene here. Okay, if you take paraxylene, this is the cation what you get, and if you get this cation, it is related to this. Okay, from here the methyl group eliminates as a radical, and you get again a tropylium ion undergoes for rearrangement to give you cyclopentadiene. If you take the example of isopropyl benzene, so in a case of isopropyl benzene, this is the methyl group elimination here. You get a cation here. This cation undergoes for rearrangement, tropylium cation with a methyl group here. Here the methyl group was eliminated because it was attached with the aromatic. In the side chain, if it is right, it was not, it remained intact. So it means it is not the benzylic cation, but it is the tropylium cation which is the intermediate in the aromatic system. In case of phenol, hydrogen as a goes out from here, rearranges the tropylium cation, and this tropylium cation eliminates the carbon monoxide, gives you this peak at 79. From here H2 removes, you get again this kind of cation. Let me to move to another example where you have substituted aromatic system like ortho substitute. If aromatic acids, esters, amide bearing a group at ortho position having hydrogen undergoes rearrangement leading to the elimination of a neutral molecule such as water, alcohol or ammonia, this is known as ortho effect. So once the radical cation, remember all these normal kind of rearrangement what I talked in the last slide will undergo, but this is something totally different now. What happens once the radical cation is generated? You move this bond over here, this goes over here, and OH has a minus, H has a plus, you eliminate water, and this is the radical cation. So you get a peak at 104 for ortho-toluene methanol. But in case of ortho-ethyl phenol, what you get? You get a peak at 106 and elimination of methane. You can have a general kind of representation like this or like this, where x and y are defined over here. You can get these kind of dotted line peaks in the mass spectrum of orthodisubstrate aromatic system. But if you have a benzene ring which has 3 or more carbons attached to it, apart from the first fragment, what you can think of, removal of this is a butane, right, and butane and butyl benzene. So removal of this portion as a radical, you get a tropylium cation, cyclopentadiene. But there is one peak at 92 which is a very intense one. How that happens? This undergoes for McLafferty rearrangement. The McLafferty rearrangement is shown over here. This double bond migrates here, this bond migrates here, and this hydrogen goes over there. So you get alkene eliminated and radical cation. Remember, whenever you have a rearrangement, the daughter ion will peak always have radical cation character. Remember that. Next one is the McLafferty rearrangement. The rearrangement involving migration of hydrogen atom in a molecule that contains heteroatom is very common. The molecule must contain an approximately located heteroatom, that is like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and a pi system, double bond or triple bond, and a hydrogen atom at a gamma position. This type of rearrangement is called McLafferty rearrangement. And if you look at this molecule, this is pentane 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pentane 1 all. So this is how the McLafferty rearrangement takes place. So if this bond migrates here, OH goes off, this hydrogen goes as a plus, so you eliminate water, alkene, and radical cation here. This is the base peak. And in case of the alcohol, this is the most preferred fragmentation. So I already talked about this is the N pentanol, 1 pentanol. So this is how the normal fragmentation takes place. This kind of intermediate you can get. Both 1 pentanol and 2 pentanol will give you same base peak, but 2 methyl 2 butanol will give base peak at this M by Z value. In case of ketones, as I said, you get this oxonium type of dotted line peak, which is most intense. But if you have a gamma hydrogen, it also undergoes for McLafferty rearrangement, leading to the formation of these kind of frag dotted line peaks, which is a base peak in most of the cases. Now you have this kind of 3 methyl butane 3 one. So you have a dot base peak as 43. This is the fragmentation. 3 pentanol 57. This is the fragmentation. But if you have a gamma hydrogen over there, this is the base peak now. So this is the odd value. This is the odd value. Okay, and this one is even. And you can show a general representation of McLafferty rearrangement for different class of compounds, that is acid, esters, and amides, and this is how it gives you. And you can differentiate 2 methyl butanol and 3 methyl butanol by mass spectrometry, because in one case you will get the molecule, the base peak as 44, another case you will get as 58. Sorry. Another one is 1 phenyl butane 1 one. This is the structure, and this undergoes for McLafferty rearrangement. The alpha cleavage will be one of the fragment over here. Okay, that I'm not talking. So it goes by the McLafferty rearrangement. This bond migrates here, this migrates over here, and this H goes there, and you eliminate this as an alkene, and this is the intermediate vertical. What is the peak? Peak is 106, this, and you can use this alpha, beta, gamma, right? So McLeod rearrangement. Alkene is eliminated. This is the fragment 120. Okay, so 120. This is the peak right here, and you can generate the oxonium ion, and oxonium ion peak 15, this one, okay, and this is 120. So if we move to next one, the cyclic ketones, and cyclic ketones also have intense molecular ion peak, but it undergoes for ring opening. So if you look at the cyclopentanone here, once you generate the radical cation, this one electron moves to this side and one electron moves to this side. So what you get? You get a triple bond over here because one electron was already there. So you have a radical here, and this hydrogen moves to this side, you get a radical over here. Now this bond migrates to this side and this migrates to this side, so you get a radical here, and this is the fragment daughter ion peak at 55. Both cyclohexanone and cyclopentanone gives you base peak at the same MIZ value. Let me explain that in the next slide. So this is the cyclohexanone. Similar kind of fragmentation takes place, gives you the base peak at this position. Another peak is 83. This is the fragmentation, and removal of alkene. This is MIZ value 70, and this undergoes for kind of a rearrangement. Okay, on this one, this is 69 now, and removal of carbon monoxide gives you MIZ value 42. This one. Ethers undergoes for cleavage this alkyl chain and gives you this kind of daughter ion peak, which eliminates the carbon monoxide, gives you cyclopentanone cation. Next one is the esters fragmentation. So this O-methyl fragmentation is very facile, you get this, and after that you can remove this CO and use a phenyl cation. And but if you have this kind of system over here, isobutyl salicylate, so it undergoes for rearrangement. The first fragmentation is this one, right? Oxonium ion formation 121, and then it can move to this side, upon this side, and this side you eliminate this alcohol. 120 is a base peak. Another way of doing it is like this, 138. So these are two of the peaks which are kind of uncommon, which you cannot explain on a by a normal kind of fragmentation. With this, let me come again to simple problems based on mass spectrometry. This is the compound molecular weight is 222, but this compound shows a strong peak at 149. So if you do the normal kind of fragmentation, you will not be able to account the formation of a peak at 149. But if you remember the ortho effect what I talked to you, you may be able to solve this problem. So this is the compound. Removal of ethyl as a radical will give you this daughter ion peak 193. Ethoxy radical, very stable one, this will give you 177. Now this one undergoes for kind of a rearrangement. Okay, so the lone pair electron attacks on this carbon, you get this kind of intermediate, and that leads to the removal of an alkene, and this is the peak what I talked to you, 149. And this is a beautiful example with two isomeric structures over here. You cannot differentiate these two structures based on your proton NMR and 13C NMR data, and this can be differentiated only by mass spectrum. So if you look at both CL and BR, what we talked about, 260, 262, 64, M plus 2, M plus 4 peak, all daughter ion peaks, look at it here, this is even molecular weight, this is even molecular weight, it means these are through the rearrangement, these are the odd. So normal kind of fragmentation. But if you look at this, what this tells you, this tells you the bromine is there, bromine is there, bromine is there, and bromine is there. So how that is possible? So that is possible if your compound structure is this one. Okay, it undergoes for the McLeod rearrangement, you get this dot line peak. So this one, so you can eliminate HCl from here, this alkene, this is the dot line peak. Then this is normal fragmentation, Br is there, and this 75 also, no, this is not the 75, sorry, this is 155, 157 is the Br. Had you have the structure Cl over here and Br to this side, this fragmentation would not have been possible for you. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I feel good that I could reach the maximum number of students across the country or the globe, because most of the students from other places also are using this tutorial, and this was close to my heart. For many years I was thinking to develop YouTube videos teaching methodology, but I could not get time. So this is the lockdown time, I can utilize my time for some sort of creativity, and I request all of you do the same, utilize your time properly. This time will not stay long, stay home, stay safe, maintain social distance, but decrease emotional distance. Don't touch anyone's hand, but don't leave any hand either. With this, I wish you all the best. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions, queries, and anything you want to ask me. Thank you very much.